In that case, welcome back, everyone. Episode number 49, the Unlocked Podcast. I'm excited. First of all, I get to do the introduction, so I can say whatever I want. Well,
it's editable.
It is editable. Today, I'm going to be leading the charge with it. Can I help you, Chad?
I feel like I have enough video recordings of you that I could throw it into an AI generator and pretty much make you say whatever I want.
As I was saying, welcome back. Episode 49, the Unlocked Podcast. You have with you today, of course, I'm Lars Johnson. I'm with Calgary Lock and Safe in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, which for most of you is just north of the border. And I'm joined by that guy that looks like he's sitting in a sauna or a sweat lodge of some sort with that little smug smile on his face.
With a couple
Tony?
of oars sitting on his shoulder.
Yes, Tony? Yes. I am Tony Hokinson from, I don't know why I said my last name, but from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Learned a fun fact. Actually, you just had to Google it from our last podcast. But the Canadian 5-cent piece has a beaver on it, not a moose. So.
No one has ever called it a 5-cent piece before. No one. Ever. And it is a beaver. Yes. Not a moose. And that other guy that's slapping his chair, loving himself and his new haircut.
A 5-cent piece.
A 5-cent piece.
Or a 5-cent piece from 1963.
Yes. Back in my old-timey days. But that guy...
Hey, a little 5-cent piece, son. You just go get yourself a piece of ice cream.
I'll introduce him for you because he's busy, but that is Chad Lingefeld. He's with Lockdock Security in North Carolina. And old-timey Tone and Chad and I are business owners. Oh, not owners. Owners. Business owners.
Oh, gosh.
From across North America. We all have small businesses, security, and locksmith companies. And we are here sharing the wealth of knowledge or lack thereof. Is that
the
fair?
5-cent piece? Yeah, that's great.
I didn't realize that nickel was like a universal term. I thought that was.
Oh man,
what do you guys call the 5-cent piece up there in the Canadian regions?
It just every day it surprises me what comes out of the American education system. There's something new every day. What is a 5-cent piece made out of, Tony? Do you know?
Well, in America, it's made out of nickel, but I didn't know that was a thing that all of them were made out of.
Yeah, that's very American of you. It turns out the rest of the world also has these minerals.
That doesn't mean they use them for their 5-cent coin.
Oh, man.
5-cent piece. I like
so, this is a nice little segue, I think, because I know our topic today is things that we're struggling with. And things that we're working on in our business, and we're going to do a little workshop. It's a little different than our normal episodes, but we have lots going on. I think.
What would you consider to be a normal episode, just out of curiosity? Because you say it's a little different than our normal episode. Do we have a definition of a normal episode?
Well, normally we talk from experience about things we know.
Oh,
today I think we're going to bring up a few things that we don't have a clue what we're doing.
Okay.
These are actual challenges. Okay, well, that's unlike you. But go ahead, Tone.
I just think most of the topics we talk about, at least one of us doesn't know what the heck we're doing with it. It's rotating on which one of us it is, but...
Oh. Okay, well...
Well, we're also going to talk about currency today.
So I stand corrected. That, but yeah, I thought it'd be an interesting topic because, we're all active in business right now. It's coming up to the end of the year. We're in September. I'm not sure where this is going to air, but likely in the month of September at some point. And we're all starting to forecast, look forward into 2026. But we got lots on our plates right now. I know we were just talking before we got on the air that, you can immediately see Tony is stressed.
Yeah,
because he's got lots going on. He's got a lot of things floating around. And he's trying to figure these things out. I know, Chad, your biggest concern at the moment is how to get to a single-digit handicap, which will take a significant workshop to get that to happen. In fact, you just played in your club championship, Chad. How'd that go?
All right, so Getting into the biggest challenges of business. This is not just personal.
Of business.
Yeah,
I thought we were talking about your putting, because that would be
putting is actually great at the current moment. But anyways, okay. So, is there a particular order that we're going in?
Well, I mean,
per our normal,
I was going to get there, but you kind of jumped in and got all matter of factly when I mentioned your club championship, which was a bit of a challenge. But I know I was sitting there because earlier today, this morning, this is mid-afternoon, we are recording this. But this morning I sat with a bunch of my senior managers, and we were talking about, to get us to where we want to go, we have to change our mindset of what we're doing now, because what we're doing right now isn't going to get us to where we want to go. And, I think we even mentioned this last episode. We talked a little bit about that challenge of being involved in your business so often that it's hard to see outside the business, because your limitations of thinking is really impacted because you're so familiar with the business. So, I like this idea, but I can't because of this situation or this so-and-so, and it really limits your kind of creativity. So, I've recently gone down a rabbit hole and I've read quite a bit. Specifically, we're talking about, 10x is greater than 2x, which then led me to the who, not how. And it's really changed my mindset. The last couple of weeks, I can say it's been transformational. I got one of my really good friends, a guy named Dustin. He also, I said, this book has changed my world. And so he read it and he's like, this is amazing. It's really impacted the way he's doing things. And he's like, I've had the most productive 2 weeks probably in the last 2 years.
They are both very, very good books. And I think to read them in conjunction too, really, opens your mind into. And I've noticed that concept come up with people I've been talking to lately. They're like, what's the challenge? What would you do if you were trying to 10x that? And it just puts yourself in an interesting frame of mind for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, the gap and the gain is where I've moved on. We're talking Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy.
Ben Hardy. Yep.
Ben Hardy. Right. So it's a
great duo.
It is. And they're really interesting reads or audiobooks or whatever. But, the main thing was we were talking about in our management meeting today is, figuring out our who's, because I don't feel we have the right people in the right seats. We got a lot of great people. We got a lot of people that are trying hard, but we're just not executing at that level that I feel we're capable of. We've had a lot of success, and where we are now relative to where we started, awesome. But I want to kind of do a little reset with my team, say, okay, what's next? What is our focus going to be going forward? And how do we position the right people, the who's, to be in the right seats? So it got me into this, mindset. I then wanted to challenge you guys and say, okay, what are you working on right now? What are your struggles right now, literally in your business today? And let's talk about them. Let's figure out and workshop and brainstorm a little bit on some of the challenges, knowing that if we're having these challenges ourselves, a lot of the people that are in our industry or similar industries are probably having that same challenge too. So it's a little bit of not a lot of preparation we can do for this, but I don't know. Who wants to go first? Chad, do you want to start with one, or Tone, or do you want me to throw out something?
So I'll talk a little bit about one of the challenges that we're having right now, which is really changing our business model. So as a traditional locksmith and security provider, if you look at the really pillars of what we do, we go out and find, facilities, buildings that have locks and doors, and we figure out how we can service, the door hardware, the key systems, or whatever there. And I think historically, as you're getting started and as your business is growing, you get very diversified in your offerings, where you want to service all things to everybody.
Yep.
And I have, through reading a lot and listening and watching and, just really trying to get intentional about what does the next thing look like for us? What does the next iteration of LockDoc look like? I have really started thinking, about one, a higher shift towards subscription models where it's a lower cost of capital investment for our customers, and two, how do we get that Allen model, that RMR machine model, where we're
machine
on a very select portfolio of products that we want to do really, really good and cut out a lot of the noise. What's that face?
Nothing. That was just some American English coming through.
Yeah, that was really poor
Things
English.
we want to do real good.
Oh, sorry.
But that's okay. But Chad, we talked about this today as well. That I was interviewing with a guy, and we talked about what I'm doing differently with our new company, this multifamily company. We sell one product.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
If you want a cloud hosted solution, perfect. Right. You don't, go somewhere else. Because the flip side is it's impossible to try and maintain knowledge on 10,000 things.
Correct.
It's a lot more challenging.
Yes, it is. And we've done that on the electronic side. We have simplified our offering there over a number of years, and that's just what we did. And so now we're looking at this kind of larger machine that we have operating right now. And the question is, well, could we move to a more simplified, structured offering for our key systems in the same way we have on our electronics?
Right.
Which is a big shift, because if you actually start to look at the numbers and the quantities and what we're focused on, it's a big number to just say, well, hey, we're not going to service this stuff anymore, or this is just not what the things that we're going to offer. So it's a bit of a challenge, because when we did this shift on the electronic side 10 years ago, 12 years ago, however long that was, it was less of a risk because it was a smaller amount of revenue, smaller percentage of revenue.
Starting from zero, it's
correct.
Right.
And so now it's shifting, a large 60% of our revenue over to something that we want to be more intentional with versus just more reactionary. Right. So the challenge really that comes down with it is one, figuring out what it is that we want to focus on. And then two, how do we shift our mentality inside of our organization that's okay? And then two, and then as a follow-up on that, how do we position ourselves from a business to make that shift systematically versus either reactionary or just kind of getting ourselves stuck in the middle of servicing everything to everybody, to then a more specific structured offering. And how do you get over the hump to say, okay, yes, at this point it's only this way, moving forward, whatever, how do you make the transition?
So start from the beginning here for me. Why do you want to do this?
Well, what's
the strategy kind of driving this decision?
Yeah. So the biggest driver to me is simplicity. I think as we get as we grow larger as an organization, which arguably we're already there, it becomes very difficult to manage so many different types of key systems and do them well. So you have your I classify them as protected and non-protected key systems.
Sure.
You may call them different things, I don't know, but that's the way I classify it: non-protected and protected key systems. And to have technicians that are well versed in a lot of different non-protected and a lot of different protected key systems is challenging.
Yeah.
To have them
onboarding, upkeep, inventory, training.
Yep.
All of the above.
Yeah. They will historically adapt to a few key systems that they're really good at or they're very knowledgeable at in depth, and then they're going to be weak in the others. And so then it causes efficiency issues. It causes just confusion all across the board. And you've got more SKUs to maintain.
So when you say simplicity, what is the main driving factor? Is it simplicity for staff? Simplicity for customers, simplicity for inventory? What's number one? What's the main?
I think probably simplicity for staff would be a driver, right? Simplicity for inventory. I don't think I guess is my opinion. So, in my opinion, I don't think that a wide majority of customers. Now, if you dissect customers into several different categories, I know large end user institutional companies are going to be more knowledgeable of their key system. So let's take that one out of the perspective. But I'd say majority of other customers don't really have or care what key system they have, as long as it works. They can get keys when they need it. They know what keys work, what door. Like, as long as the system works, they're fine. Yep. I don't think that they have really a loyalty to the type of key system that is there. So we get stuck in managing all of those variations when people don't really care.
Right. Yeah. And it's, we care because this is what we do all day, every day.
Yeah.
And that's why we know the difference. And, if anyone is not in the industry and they're listening to this, they're not even, what are you talking about, protected versus not protected? They don't even know what that means. Right?
Correct.
And it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So,
but now it's the same thing with like a lot of services that you would use in your business now. Like, you have different in the States, right? We have UPS, we have FedEx, and we have DHL, and probably other logistics offerings. But if you're in the shipping side of a business, you have a preference. One of those works better. One of those is easier to deal with. One of those is more consistent with their reporting, more consistent with tracking, whatever, right? And so you will tend to go to one of those. Now, if you're forced to use all three of them, two of those are going to be worse than the others. So would you not structure your organization to be, this is our primary logistics vendor because this is easy to do business with and more efficient?
Right. So that's the angle you're trying to take. So the situation right now is you have a whole, just to recap here, but you have a whole, you offer 15,000 products.
Sure.
Right. And you're trying to reduce that by an amount, whatever that amount is.
Yeah.
To make it simpler to be effective in what you're providing. Okay. So what's the biggest challenge right now? Or where are you at?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is it's shifting the mentality, the mindset, and the go-to-market strategy, if you want to use your corporate salad. But it's effectively the DNA of our operation, the DNA of our business is starting to be a little bit will be a little morphed, because this is the way we always have been. This is the way we've always done things, and now this is a new methodology.
Yeah. Do you think that's going to have any sort of short-term volume impact?
I mean,
like, will they lose sales?
I guess yeah. So I have two questions on that. One is, do you think there's going to be a volume impact, and do you think the employees fear there's going to be a volume impact?
Well, I think everybody fears it, because it's different and it's a change.
What about you?
I wouldn't put that into a category of fear that I would have.
So, I mean, I think there's probably part of the challenge. It's you have a different understanding of what you think the outcome is going to be, and some people are probably fearful of what it looks like for their career.
And why do you think are you just more risk tolerant, or why do you think you fear this change less than the others?
Well, I would say, I mean, I think it's all perspective of what change means. I think that we have to shift our business proposition. Like, this is what we do. And the faster that we do that, I don't think it's going to be a volume shift or a revenue shift at all. It's just, how quickly can an organization of 50 get a majority over to saying, well, this is normal, and this is okay, and this is the new way that we're going to do things.
Right.
Because I think the longer it takes that to happen, that would be where you would have some volume issues.
So the challenge is more changing the culture. Like, I mean, because I look at this and say, like, well, that's pretty easy to do. You just tell your sales team that you no longer sell these products. You only sell this product, right? Like that. Okay, problem solved. But
there's a lot of logistics on the back end, obviously, to make that happen. Yeah.
Right. So is that more the real problem, the logistics, or is it more convincing the team?
Well,
I'm really trying to understand the biggest challenge.
I think convincing or laying out, and I don't even say convincing is probably a heavy-handed term. I don't know that I would use that, but laying out the benefits of the change so that we can make a decision, yay or nay, on if we're going to do that or not. If we're going to do that, and then everybody's, or a majority are bought into it, then the next iteration is going to be the heavy lift on logistics, because that's it's a totally different level.
Yeah,
So Tone, a question for you then. So how would you attack this? If this is something you wanted to do, what, just your gut instinct, how would you attack this problem if you were Chad?
I think what Chad said there was pretty valuable about laying out the benefits. I think probably my guess is that people are struggling to see they're thinking about the immediacy. I think as business owners, a lot of times we're thinking 5-10 years ahead. And I think a lot of times people are thinking about what are they doing tomorrow? What does next week look like? What does next year look like? Right. And they're thinking, oh, shoot, like we're going to lose some customers. Chad's thinking 10 years from now, I'm going to have thousands of customers on protected key systems. That's going to be a huge benefit to me. And I think people aren't seeing that journey of how you get there. So I think you have to lay out what that end goal looks like. And the reason I'm struggling saying this is I think Chad's probably done this, but I think you have to lay out what that step looks like to get from A to B. What does it look like 6 months from now? What does it look like 2 years from now? What does it look like 5 years from now? Almost do that like vision traction organizer method with this specific like revenue model, and really lay out that stepping stone and paint that clear vision. But I'm guessing you've done some of that already, so I don't know.
Yeah, I'm certain he has, and I'm not sure how far down the path is, but I'm curious. We're talking about change management, right? You can you can Google that term, use GPT, read through that, and aligning everyone's vision and really speaking, from that level.
I think the big fear that comes along with this type of shift is you're comfortable in the current situation, the chaos. It could be complicated. It could be a hassle. There could be a lot of negative implication around it, but the fear of change is higher than the pain of the current state. Right. And that's at any business, at any maneuver, at anything, right? Is it more painful to change than the pain that we're suffering in the current state?
And I guess that's just knowing how you are, Chad, and who you are. That'd be one of the things I would challenge you on, would say, is this because you're bored? Or do you truly and wholeheartedly believe that this makes the organization better in the long run?
So, I mean, truthfully, it's 85% that the business will be better in 3 to 5 years because of it. 15% is an exciting adventure.
Yeah. Honestly, all I can think about is Moneyball, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar, but they're sitting there and they're discussing, like, are we better with Jeremy Giambi or Hattenberg? Well, he gets on base more, right? And he's like, so what are we talking about? Yep. Either we're in this or we're not. If it's going to make our business better, whatever the pain is, we go through it.
Yeah. So. Well, I think that, from that side for years, I have faltered on, I think this is going to make the business better. And, I just climb up into that big caterpillar bulldozer and just force it in. And, that has its hazards. It's just mostly I don't go in and have somebody mark where the gas lines are or electrical lines are or anything like that. And so, but there's explosions and all kinds of stuff. So trying to get a little more structured in how we go about it, and because the business is operating differently now, I don't have I've got the luxury of looking from an outside perspective versus
one of the suggestions and one of the things that I draw on from some of my experience, it always comes down to I heard a speaker, someone say it, but W11FM. Have you ever heard of that term before? W11FM.
It's a radio station.
Exactly. It's the radio station that plays in everyone's mind at all times. And it's an acronym. W11FM is what's in it for me. Right. And I just have a little logo that says WFM in my office, because, ultimately, if you're trying to impact people and their career and their livelihood and the fear, what it always comes down to is, why is this better for them? Mm-hmm. So if, Chad, you wholeheartedly believe that this is the opportunity, I then move to the next step of, why does this impact them? It's good for the business, great. And I'm sure everyone in your company is 100% only concerned about what's in it for the business. But it's possible that some of them are concerned about themselves. And so what's in it for them is kind of where I always go at it, and figuring out how to tell that story and incorporate into the vision of why you think this is going down the path and how it's going to make their lives better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one, because I think you're very focused on the simplicity of the business, right? If I'm a technician or a salesperson, it's like, well, I just want to sell more. I just want to install more. I know how to sell all these protected key systems. I know how to sell non-protected key systems. So what's the deal for me? So a good point.
And I think at the beginning, you probably do lose some growth. You probably stifle some growth. You probably have a few challenging situations. But over the near to short term, I'm going to call it a couple of years, it probably gets significantly easier to do business. And the complexity of business is the biggest challenge that all entrepreneurs and small businesses have. Mm-hmm. It's how do we simplify it? So that's a bold endeavor. And I don't imagine this is going to be something that happens overnight. But, I agree with you. I can see one of our companies is very simple. We only sell 6 products.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy to manage.
Yeah.
And pretty easy to train. I can get somebody on board and trained in 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah. All of those factors are right in line.
Mm-hmm. Our inventory is 1 shelf. Mm-hmm. Our locksmith inventory is 6,000 square feet, right? So it's,
Yeah, it is an interesting endeavor. Like, you think about other business models and they're so simple. I was just doing a presentation yesterday to some people about our business model, and they're like, "Oh, you guys got a lot going on there." It's like, yeah.
Dunder Mifflin Paper Company. What do we do? Well, I think it's Jim sits there. It's like, well, we have yellow and we have white, and I'm bored even talking about it, right? But it's so simple. It's like, what do they sell? Paper. That's it. Yeah. So, Tone, I'm coming to you next here. I should say, any more on that topic? That's what Chad's pondering. How far down the path are you, Chad?
What else? We have pitched it to the organization. It's definitely part of our VTO. It's funny, reviewing our VTO.
It's a vision traction organizer. For those unfamiliar, you can Google it. It's part of the entrepreneurial operating system, the Gino Wickman traction method.
Thank you for explaining that, because I'm short-sighted on it. We did the original one 3 years ago, and reviewing it for the things that are supposed to happen by the end of 2025, we are like well on target, which is really cool. So now it's a matter of redoing that and updating it, and this is definitely part of that strategy. We've done a really cool exercise. Our training director, Christopher, uses this kind of strategic gameplay methodology called 6 thinking caps. And so we've been using that over the last couple of weeks inside of our Wednesday team meetings, where we've broken out the company into 5 different groups. And each of those groups has however many people in it. And then they all adapt to 6 different thinking caps. So you have somebody that's a creative, somebody that's a pessimistic perspective, somebody that's logical thinking, whatever, right? So there's 6 different ones, and then we use that and pair it up with our culture index personality assessments to see who's going to be best suited for that. And that's how he kind of separates the teams out. And then they're all workshopping it. So what would this look like in 1 year, 3 years, or 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, or something like that? So each group has a different time frame that they're supposed to be workshopping how they would be able to implement this business shift in that time frame.
What reference material are you talking about here? Where did this concept come from?
The 6 thinking caps.
Yeah. Or is that what it's called?
That's what it's called. It's probably some, if you Google it, I'm sure it's out there. He brought it to the table for several different brainstorming sessions that we've had, and it's worked really well because it's effectively a forced gameplay. Yeah. So each group is following a particular set of guidelines. They've got several pages of information that they're working off of with an outcome to present what their findings are.
Yeah. Huh.
And it helps us like figure out what the challenges will be, because as a individual who is highly optimistic that everything is going to work out wonderfully, I don't oftentimes think about the things that could potentially not work. And
hence the explosions and
yes. So this helps to bring together a collective group of people to say, here's potentially some pitfalls, some challenges, here's some opportunities as well, maybe ones that we weren't already thinking about, and then it can help us put together a more well-rounded strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch I'm curious, and I could spend a long time asking questions and kind of strategy and plan on how to get to where you're going. And that might be another episode or a follow-up. But I'm looking at Tony's face. Tony, you're stressed. I know it's mostly because we got to get together and play golf.
That's really it. I have to spend the next 2.5, 3 days with Lars.
Tell us the challenge. What's not about that? We know
this is
we know what that challenge is.
Yeah. Parallel parking will be your challenge. But.
So one thing I'm going to bring up, this is kind of a newfound, I don't want to say challenge. I think we've known about this, but haven't directed enough attention to it, is just inventory management. We've kind of, I don't want to say preached, but talked about like, hey, we need to improve inventory. We need to improve inventory. I think it wasn't until recently that we've realized just how bulky we are when it comes to inventory, just everywhere. And I guess I'm struggling with kind of knowing what the norm is. I had a good conversation with Chad last week just about inventory turns. Kind of got my mind turning on how we
unlocked it.
Yeah, it's so complex. Like, you think about inventory turns and you want to cycle an item so frequently, but there's so many things that we want in our van for the one-off event that you need it. And it's a challenging thing because as a service tech, you want to have that thing so you don't have to run back to the shop. Right. And there's a different conversation almost between the difference between having 0 items and 1 item and then 1 item and 2 items, right? Like more often than not, you're not going to need more than 2 of something on a van, right? If you use the one, you go back to the office, you get the second.
Sure.
But anyways, I just have a lot of thoughts and perplexions around inventory and when dealing with.
So what's the challenge with it? Inventory management. That's a pretty vague term, but what is the problem that you're
figuring out
to...
from kind of a 3-pronged standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from an operational standpoint, and then
financial.
What does balancing the operational needs and the financial needs. So like the cost of carrying items versus having it operationally for what you need it.
What's the third prong?
I realized there wasn't a third. It's really just balancing the financial aspects and the operational aspects. So operationally, you'd ideally stock as much as possible and just have your own warehouse, right? Financially, that's not feasible. So I've been working with our inventory manager and our field operations manager to kind of, and then me from a finance standpoint to try to figure out what are the targets we're looking for. And we just have a little bit of confusion around just industry norms or field service norms and what that looks like, and just trying to work through what is the long-term goal of what we want our inventory balances to be, And then what is some of the short-term feasible goals to get there? And like we were talking about, I think on the last episode, about just selling off inventory cheaply and figuring out how to get rid of it and not just throw it away. Because there's a cost to that, right? Of just literally keeping it on your shelves and counting it and managing it in the warehouse space.
So, have you done any calculations on actual, like the cost of an inventory space in your warehouse?
Mm-hmm.
So,
like what your rent costs?
Yeah, it's like literally going in and saying, how much square footage do we have for our warehouse? And so every shelf, effectively, how much is this shelf space worth? This is something Sam did. He read a book, and I probably should figure out what book it is, but he read a book about some inventory management a couple of years ago. And this was one of the things that was helpful. He went in and did some calculations on that of what our actual sunken cost was for operating that warehouse space. And then one of the challenges, you just said that it reminded me of it, was we had dead stock or products that we didn't know what to do with. Maybe, it was a cabinet lock that we ordered incorrectly, and now it's just kind of sitting there. It's because, and the reason I use cabinet lock as an example is it's a very small cost. So, whatever you pay for it, $20,
$10,
$10, something like that. And then we would order it wrong, and then it would sit on the shelf. And then we would move it to another spot. And then a couple of months later, we'd move it to another spot.
It.
But we don't want, count it and move it.
Move it.
And, this, lots of information here, but he was building a formula to say at what point does that product become a negative investment? So if we paid $10 for it and we pay $1 a month for it to sit on the shelf, at 10 months, we have doubled our investment in that particular piece of product. So how at what point does it become depreciated so negative that it really doesn't matter what we do with it? Because if we hold, the theory I think that we come into is, well, we need to hold it until we sell it. Yeah. Well, now we've just expanded our warehouse space so much because we've got all of these products that we're holding. Well, now we're paying an extra $3,000 a month to store junk that we're not going to sell, right? So at what point has that become a what's the term? Anyways, it's depreciated so much that it's not valuable.
Right.
So we came up with this this kind of flow chart because they were having a challenge with getting rid of that stuff. So it's like, where this product came into our warehouse? Is it for a project? Is it for inventory? If it came back, is it returnable? Is it outside of a return period? What's the value? Boom, boom, boom. And it kind of worked through this whole workflow to see, do we throw it in the trash can? Do we scrap it? Or do we leave it on the shelf? And there was a value there where they would do that and assess it on a regular basis. That will help with reducing some dead stock.
Yeah. And I'm guessing, Tone, this comes down to cash flow. We're talking about profit and finance or whatever, but this is money. We're talking about cash in the bank account.
And just really like the biggest thing we have figuring out what is the adequate amount to stock. What is our end goal? Like, what do we need in a vehicle? What do we need in our warehouse? What is the logical amount of things to have on hand?
So I've gone down this path lots. We're moving buildings right now. So we are tossing out a whole bunch of crap that we spend all kinds of money counting it and move it, count it and move it. Like, it's actually more cost effective to throw out your keys than count them, right? Well, we want to know how many we have. Well, I'll throw them out and order new ones, and then we know how many we have. And it's actually more cost effective to do that than actually count them. But every day I see our guys sitting there counting the keys. Okay, we got 47 of these SC1s. Like, well, yeah, because it's like a point of pride of knowing what's there. But the cost is massive. I've never really looked at it like Chad is talking about the actual cost associated with. I'm looking at cash flow because, as we understand, the cost of the hardware is only when you actually sell it. That's when it shows up on your financial statements. right? But it sits on your balance sheet as inventory. If you look at your balance sheet and you say, okay, I got $1 million worth of inventory, that's $1 million worth of cash that's not in your bank account, that is sitting there. So, if you turn your head away from this inventory management view, what you very quickly find out is like, hey, we were profitable, we're making 15%, we made a couple $100,000, but we're broke. We don't have any money.
So on the cash flow, I think we did this whole exercise with several people. I can't remember who all was involved with it, so I hate that I can't give them recognition. But determining your turns first is what is going to determine your cash flow. Do you want to turn twice a year, 4 times a year, 12 times a year? That's where your determining factor is. Because if your cost of goods, let's just make it simple math. If your annual cost of goods is $1.2 million, that's what you're spending on materials, then that means your inventory, if you're going to turn 12 times a year, then you should never have more than $100,000 in inventory, because you got to turn it. Well, likelihood that you can predict what your $100,000 of inventory is on 12 turns is, if you get to that point, you sell 2 products, right? And so you know exactly what it is. But determining your turns is the first way to say what the industry norm should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, and because it's going to be unique to your geographical area.
Correct.
Right. Something we learned when we were out in the East Coast of the U.S., shockingly, everything near the Yale factory, there's a lot of Yale in that area.
Yeah.
Right.
So what do you guys feel is turns is more complicated than that? Maybe I'm making it more complicated. Like, it's interesting when you think about it from our business, because so much of what we do is project based. So like, you don't even need to stock it, right? Like,
correct.
Right.
You look at some companies that specifically in the electronics industry, and they carry like no inventory, none. They just order what they need and sell it. It's like, love to do that. So like, really, it's like you almost have to look at your cost of goods sold from a service standpoint. And I guess, so that's my question. If you were running exclusively a service-based business, what do you guys feel is how much, how often should you turn your products? Yeah. Specifically thinking from a service base, like, just what do you think is reasonable?
Ideal, I would say, is probably 12. I would say realistic is probably 8. I think that is eating an elephant with one bite. I would break it down into different categories. That's how we've gone about it. So we've got our high turn items, which we say is daily.
Yep.
Things we sell every day, and those we should turn a whole pile. But really breaking it down, and that's using a database, that's really diving into it, because this is probably the single biggest expense in every security business.
So I just was texting Sam because I want to try to get an actual answer for you. I know that one of the specific things that we did from an inventory standpoint is we went in and grabbed the top 36 items that we turn,
right?
Our top volume, and those we've committed to keeping in inventory. Outside of that, it was a intentional reduction in inventory, because if we wanted to turn 12 times, let's just say that, then distribution will, just in time, right, within 3 days, is going to backfill anything that we would need to keep in inventory. So we actually only want to inventory things that we need to have faster than that 3 day turn.
Right. Yeah. And I think, Tone, in a situation, because your company is fairly similar to mine in service versus project, right? Chad's going to be more project based. So theory, Chad should have less inventory, and he should turn it more often because he's going to be ordering it as he needs it.
Theory,
our companies should have, we'll probably have a higher amount of inventory.
But it should still be on your top volume.
The crazy
items,
thing, though,
right?
to me is like, why? Like, I can see having it in the van, but like, what does it matter if it's in my warehouse here, or if it's down the street at our distributor?
But that's where I think this isn't a numbers and cents game. I think this is an emotional game, because your sales team wants it on the shelf. If they try and sell something, you can't sell out of an empty cart, right? They're going to be, And then the emotional impact, if they try and sell something and it's not there, you can go get it in 5 minutes. But their reaction is, oh, we never have anything in stock. It's like a big impact for them. And the warehouse guys are like, well, yeah, we don't want to tell somebody that we don't have it. So we need more on the shelf. And then the procurement and finance, they're like, oh, well, if we don't have anything, we're going to catch heck because, oh, we don't have it on the shelf. So they want to order more. And if we're doing just in time, I got to do so much more work. I got to make an order every day. And then AP has to, enter it and make payments every day. Like there's just more work. So it all lines up to them because I think we talked about it last episode, but what's in it for me? Or I think actually that was previous.
That was 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. But it's, for them, they don't have the incentive. In fact, it's harder for them to do it well. So your alignment, you want to conserve cash flow, and I'd rather have cash in the bank than on the shelf. But for them, it makes their jobs harder. And I go back to something that Chad's said lots is how do you make it easy for them to do the right thing, and how do you make it hard for them to do the wrong thing? So that would be the way I would be tackling this, is figuring out, okay, understanding why you're in the situation of holding lots of inventory. And I think that's because it's just easier for them to do it, and it doesn't impact them. Does it impact your warehouse guy negatively if you have lots of inventory on the shelf? Probably not. In fact, their life's probably easier because they always have what they need. Same as the guys in the van. The impact of not having something on the road, they probably look foolish. They have to go get it. It's a logistical nightmare.
There is an operating cost to us as a business too, right?
Well,
if you're out there doing a service call and you have to return.
That is one option. You don't have to return, but you can have somebody send it to you. But in the business model we have, there is an operating cost, and that's where you do have to, walk that line a little bit. But I think predominantly every person that's listening to this that is in our industry is, except maybe Uncle Glenn, is carrying too much inventory because the emotional impact of being out of something is so large that people don't want to have that happen again.
Yeah.
So it's like this isn't a logical problem. This is an emotional problem. So we have to then figure out, how do we offset that emotional negative?
Yeah, I heard somebody say the other day, and I'm going to butcher this, but it was something around fear. An emotional fear is based off of historical loss or something like that. So that's it is directly true. Like you can't take my inventory because I'm going to lose something, or I'm not going to have something when I need it. And so then we get emotionally tied to it. And the logical sense is completely out of the picture at that point, because we've hit an emotional toll of that fear. So on that note, I think you have to get in to the understanding on the inventory side of, one, how often do we need it? And that comes down to the high volume stuff. And where are we sourcing it from? Because to your point, what's the difference between it being in the truck for running around for 6 months versus being in the wholesaler or distributor down the street?
Lead time has to factor into this for sure.
Right. And from there, you should be able to track how often you're selling it and how often you're turning it. That is the huge benefit of monitoring that. Sam said that we're at 4.75 turns currently in our organization. So just for context there, when he first started tracking it in 2022, we were at 3.5. So he's been able to bring another 1.25 turns per year.
Yeah. And so that equates to active cash flow in your bank account of several $100,000.
Yep.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's, I think where we probably miss on this, because we've been talking about this for years. This was one of the major topics of conversation in 2021. The three of us talked about it lots last year, and I know that was a focus for all three of us, is to dive into this. I think where I've missed is the communication piece, knowing and maybe not realizing how emotional it was, because our guys, would be oh man, like they're cutting back our inventory. I'm never going to have. And then the classic, as soon as we took it out of the van, the next day I needed to sell one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where those are emotions. Those are emotional speaking. Where I probably missed was I had those reports that Chad's talking about running. How often do we sell this piece of hardware? Right? Sharing that with everyone involved so they know, okay, we're taking this out of your van. The last time you sold it was 1997. Right?
Well, so yeah,
but making sure everyone is working just on that full piece of inventory and then explaining why.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this impactful? Yeah, last week when I was talking to Chad about this, he said something pretty logical that you're because you're keeping such a close eye on turns. If someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I need this on my van," Sam is saying, "Okay, we'll put this on there." But if it hasn't sold in 4 months or 3 months or whatever the number is, we're pulling it back off. So yes, you can have this, but if you're not going to, for lack of a better term, prove that you're using it, we're taking it back away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just what is you think about it and going back to the what's in it for me and the emotional impact. What is the benefit to a road technician sitting in his van of having less inventory? To the road tech, having less inventory.
So that is a great question. I think one is, are they counting the inventory and are they actually keeping up with it? Because if they're keeping up with it, the benefit to them is that's less things that they have to count.
Right. So if they're not, which I'm guessing most don't, then there's no pain there.
Correct.
So,
but do you guys do cycle counts?
We do, but is it the guy in the van, or is that your warehouse team?
We have our technicians do the counts.
So
okay, and they still want to carry $17,000 worth of inventory. Of course, you probably pay them to sit there and count the van, right?
The other thing that I had told Tony is one of the biggest pain points that we uncovered was our technicians, justifiably so, wanted to increase the amount of inventory that they had because they weren't getting it replenished in a timely manner. So if I had 3 locks on my van and I sold 2 of them, how long does it take me to get those 2 locks back so that I can sell them again? If it takes too long and now I'm always out of what I want or what I need, then now what am I actually going to do is I'm going to start hoarding products or increasing that because I don't think you're going to replace that stuff.
How did you learn that?
How did we learn that? You know what? I learned that through our weekly reports.
Mm-hmm. You asked.
Yes, consistently our technicians were saying frustrated because I don't have parts. I don't have parts. I don't have parts. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So then it was like, well, what do you not have? Well, and then we discovered we didn't have a good methodology of getting it replenished.
It wasn't that you didn't have parts. You just didn't have parts once you sold them. Yes. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
That's maybe the takeaway for me here is, maybe asking, what's when you show up to a site and you don't have what you need, what goes through your mind?
Mm-hmm.
Or why do you want this in the van? Right? Because there isn't pain of not having it. There isn't pain of having it. Having too much doesn't matter, isn't impactful.
No.
So somehow we've got to align that. So either they are benefiting from having, just-in-time inventory, or the opposite is it's painful to carry too much.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is that I know specifically Tony, but I mean, most people, you should have an idea of what you're selling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an easy thing to track, or it should be an easy thing to track and say, we sell X number of lever sets every week. And if you're able to report it by van, then you can say this technician sells 5 lever sets a week. It takes us 3 days to replenish them. So how many do we want to, what's our buffer percentage? And that's where you track your turns. But you don't, if you go in and say, you don't need 4 combination locks on your van because you sell 1 every 4 months. That's where you can start to value those turns. And it's effectively giving somebody the comfort of saying, if you sell it it's going to get replenished in, and if you can show data, it gets replenished within X number of days, then that solves that fear. But if it gets replenished in 6 months, then you've justified fear.
Yeah. That's a whole other area. But one of the challenges I'd throw to you guys is, if a guy shows up on site and doesn't have what he needs, what does he do?
In our business, they would have to put in a parts request for it, and that's the painful part because it's additional.
It's hard to do the right thing.
Correct. Yes. So then the question comes back to how quickly can you, how do you get the right parts there so they don't have to do that? Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a guy on site right now. Does somebody drive out there, or do they drive to the supplier or come back to you, or how do they get it right now if they need it?
It's relative to their location and what else they've got going on, but a lot of times they're tracking back to the office. Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. What about you, Tone?
Same exact thing.
Same thing.
Yeah. If you don't have the right part, you're going either to our local distributor or coming back to the office, depending on whatever's closer. Sometimes someone will bring it to you, but very rarely.
We're three bright guys here. I would suggest, but not the point. I would suggest, is that something we should explore? Is how do we lessen that pain? Because if that's the number one pain that they're feeling, is there a way that they can just close their eyes and snap their finger and the hardware shows up for them? How could we make that less painful so that when they do have that issue, it's not such a impactful bit? I don't know how,
but it's
I have
still,
no ideas, but
it can reduce the inventory management because you've invested in rapid parts delivery.
Yeah, I know Uber Rush is obviously where I'm going with this, and where I think is, how do you get Uber to deliver a piece of hardware to your guy wherever he is?
Yeah, but I mean,
when he needs it.
That's obviously a function, but there's probably, I think about it as, there are people out there that their dream job would be, maybe they're retired or close to or whatever, that they just like driving around and chatting with people. They have a parts delivery van, and they're just
that I don't like, because you have to pay them both directions, and it's a full-time staff
there's still
and a person.
The downtime. Like, okay, so I'm sitting out there and I need a different Hess strike that I don't have in my van. It's not just the pain of the fact that I have to go back to the office. It's the fact that I can't be productive until I have that part. So now I'm sitting there waiting.
I don't think that happens very often. I think you either go work on a different door, or you go put a different piece of hardware in it, or you go to a different call and come back. I think there's lots of... Right,
but going to a different call and come back has an operating cost to it.
It does.
And if you're being gauged on performance, you don't want to just waste that time. You want to do your job as efficiently as possible.
Right. And I would also suggest that if you're being gauged on performance, part of your performance metric should be being prepared and having the strike that you need with you.
Correct. Yes. But
carrying around $15,000 in inventory to be able to accomplish that one task efficiency of improvement of half an hour.
I don't think it's I don't totally agree with the fact that you have to make it less painful. I think you have to educate on the importances of inventory and how that effectively benefits them. The smarter
if they carry
we can
less,
be
why is it better for them?
Because it gives the company more money to pay them more.
Why does that matter to them?
Because they want to be paid more.
But this has nothing to do with profit. This has to do with cash flow.
Right, but you have to have cash in the bank to write a check.
I know this. Does your team know this?
No, but that's what I'm getting at. You have to explain that.
And does it matter? It doesn't matter to them.
But you got to spend money to make money.
Yeah. Thanks, Chad.
Very helpful. I think there's an education there that you can. I think it's a pretty what's the word? Cynical viewpoint to say that they don't care about the company being successful. Like, I think if you explain the why behind it, I think people can buy into, okay, this makes sense. I understand there's a cash investment to inventory. I think it's less about making it painless and more so on educating.
I don't know that I would approach it from a cash investment from inventory, but I think the point is that they want to know is, how quickly can I get the part when I need it, and how quickly is it going to be replenished if it's in inventory?
Correct.
If you're going to reduce it. Those are because that's the impedance of me getting my job done.
Exactly. It causes them less pain.
I just think there's an overall lack of, at least in our company, I have not done a good job. We have not done a good job of educating the team on the importance of inventory control. I think a lot of it is just understanding and the buy-in of this is the goal and this is what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
I think it's just been, we've had no constraints on, you can stock as much as you want and do there's been no education around it.
Yeah. I think there's an inherent negative connotation around the term inventory control because it sounds like you're controlling inventory.
Yep.
So maybe like people think that you're trying to take something away that they need to do their job is kind of the point that I'm getting to. I think presenting it in a fact of what you're ultimately trying to do is have the right parts ready at the right time versus having all the parts all the time.
Yeah, because there is a value to it. Otherwise, we'd carry no inventory at all. Yeah. Right. So there is a fine line of what is the right amount.
Right. And that's, So I think, to put a bow on it, it is a challenge that everyone's going to go through. I think probably step one is understanding it's an emotional battle, not a logical battle, which means you're going to have to approach it differently. And if the pain or the discomfort, if you don't like the word pain, if the discomfort is not aligned company and guys in the field, then you're always going to have that battle. And it'll work right up until the point where it impacts them. So one of our challenges is trying to figure out, well, either we align the pain points or give them somehow incentive or benefit them by aligning to what the company wants and needs.
Yeah. I think to add on that, figure out what your current turns are. If it's 1 a year or 0.5 a year, and then from X to Y by when, how do we move from 1 to 2 by what amount of time, 2 to 3, et cetera. I think if you were doing quarterly turns, 4 times a year, I think that would be an incredible move, and may take you a couple of years to get there, but it's a target to start moving towards.
I wonder if you can incentivize or bonus people on having more turns in their vans. And then, of course, you have to monitor infield delays, how many times you have to deliver parts, or how do they have to, all that stuff. But, there might be something to it. Yeah. If you could figure out, because that would incentivize them to carry less and turn it more.
I got 52 turns. I also only carry.
I don't carry any product.
Nailed it. Yeah. All right. I know we need to bring this thing to a conclusion. Tony is super excited about sharing the next episode topic with us.
Yes. Next episode, we want to talk about what we believe makes, I think there's a couple of lessons here in this topic, that what we believe makes a good manufacturer's rep. I think that actually can apply to our own business. So what are things that we've seen in good manufacturers reps that we believe makes them successful? And I think, again, a lot of that can apply to our sales teams and things that they need to do to our customers.
Can we just say sales reps, or does it have to be a manufacturing rep?
I'm specifically talking about like manufacturers reps that we like
our vendor reps, and what we would like our reps to replicate from those vendor reps that are good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, is it because we're going to see Ben right away?
Oh boy.
No.
We're going to see Ben. Oh, ouch. I was supposed to be a compliment to Ben.
Well, yeah.
You want to talk about good reps and good, and then you just shut that down.
Does Ben listen to this podcast?
Of course not.
We're gonna see him tomorrow, and we can possibly ask him what he's done as a rep. And but yes, I think there's just a lot of good things that, like, I think a lot of reps do things really well, and there's some that don't. I think it's good to talk about the ones that do well. What makes them successful? Again, I think that there's a lot of sales tips there. I know Chad's a big tips and tricks guy. So
5 tips and tricks.
I think there's a lot of things that manufacturer reps do for us that we can learn from and make sure we're instilling into our customers.
Yeah, so I think it's a valid point. There's a lot of things that we will gripe about that a manufacturer representative or vendor rep does that we don't like. But when we turn the mirror to ourselves, our company does the exact same thing.
Yeah. I think that the way I would spin it, which might be a fun way to handle the podcast, is if you were managing a manufacturer rep, what would you advise them to do?
So we're going to take the seat of a vendor
Regional
representative,
sales director.
and we want to give some direction
RSM.
to our sales team on how to sell products to us.
Perfect. Should be exciting, boys. In the meantime, check out our website, unlockedpodcast.com. It is widely available for you. It's free of charge, by the way. I don't know if we've mentioned that recently or not. We're running a promo this month only. You can go to our website, and for free, you can subscribe to our podcast and our YouTube channel. This is a limited time offer. So if you pass on this, it could cost you quite a bit of money in the future. So please make sure you take advantage of that promotion that's happening right now. We'll look forward to chatting about manufacturer reps and how terrible they are in the next episode. So be sure to subscribe so you'll hear all of that. Thank you for being here again, and we'll see you next time